Izar's finger hovered above the controls to initiate the stealth landing on Nova Prime, but he hesitated. Humans had sent him a message. Run. The legendary alien assassin scoffed. He had never failed an assignment. Now this backwater species dared to threaten him? Izar reviewed the target profile again. Samuel Thompson, human, wealthy industrialist, loved by his people for his charisma and innovations that made Nova Prime prosper. The client offered a massive bounty for his death. No explanation given. It didn't matter. Izar never asked questions. Over a century of flawless kills across the galaxy had earned Izar his deadly reputation. His name alone made even the most powerful alien rulers tremble. Yet in all his decades, not a single contract had targeted a human. He always saw them as a primitive, unremarkable species. Easy prey. With a dismissive flick, Izar accepted the job. This Samuel Thompson would die like all the others, his blood spilled by Izar's merciless hand. These humans needed a reminder of their place in the galaxy's pecking order. Izar looked forward to providing it. His state-of-the-art ship knifed unseen through the void toward the human colony. Scanners mapped every detail of their defenses, probing for weaknesses. He had to admit their technology was more advanced than expected. Energy shields enveloped the city in a shimmering barrier. Automated guns tracked the skies. Patrols of power-armored soldiers secured the perimeter. Impressive, but nothing Izar hadn't beaten before. He would find a way in. He always did. But as he finalized his infiltration plan, a strange new sensation bloomed in his gut, an unfamiliar feeling, almost like uncertainty. He shook it off. Ridiculous. No target escaped him. Not even one surrounded by the best security humans could muster. These colonists would soon learn that no amount of precious tech could protect them from the galaxy's apex predator. Izar locked in the final approach vector, the invisible ship screaming toward his oblivious prey. One way or another, Samuel Thompson would die. Nobody warned Izar. He did the warning, and his message to humanity was simple. It was them who needed to run. Izar's cloaked ship sliced through the upper atmosphere of Nova Prime, the advanced stealth technology rendering it invisible to the colony's sensors. As the vessel descended towards the sprawling city below, Izar reviewed the intel his ship's scanners had gathered, analyzing the layered defenses that protected his target. The assassin's fingers danced across the controls, guiding the ship to a concealed landing site on the outskirts of the colony. With a soft hiss, the airlock disengaged, and Izar stepped out into the alien world, his form shimmering and shifting as his advanced nano-camouflage adapted to the environment. Within moments, he had assumed the appearance of a nondescript human worker, his true nature hidden beneath the flawless disguise. Izar moved through the colony's bustling streets with purposeful strides, his keen eyes taking in every detail of the settlement's impressive architecture and advanced technology. The scale and sophistication of the human colony far exceeded anything he had anticipated, a testament to the rapid progress the once primitive species had made in recent decades. As he navigated the labyrinthine lower levels of the city, Izar's mind raced, processing the extensive network of defenses that stood between him and his target. Surveillance drones buzzed overhead, their sensors constantly scanning for any sign of threat. Biometric scanners guarded the entrances to the upper echelons of the colony, ensuring that only authorized personnel could access the most sensitive areas. Heavily armed security personnel patrolled the streets, their cutting-edge weapons and armor a stark reminder of the humans' growing military might. Undeterred by the challenges that lay ahead, Izar pressed on, his confidence unwavering as he drew upon his decades of experience and unparalleled skill set. He identified a weakness in the colony's security grid, a blind spot in the drone coverage that he could exploit to gain entry into Thompson's private compound. As Izar finalized his preparations, his ship's communication interceptors picked up a conversation between Thompson and his chief of security, Marcus Riker. The grizzled ex-military officer's voice crackled over the encrypted channel, his words tinged with a mix of dedication and concern. "Sir, we've received credible intel that an assassin has been contracted to take you out," Riker reported, his tone grave. "We've taken every precaution to ensure your safety, including deploying our best men and upgrading the panic room's security measures." Thompson's reply was calm and measured, his voice betraying no hint of fear. I appreciate your diligence, Marcus. I have complete faith in you and your team. We'll show this assassin what happens when they mess with Nova Prime. Izar's lips curled into a cold smile as he listened to the exchange, amused by the humans' confidence in their own abilities. He set his plan into motion, his advanced hacking tools making short work of the perimeter sensors as he slipped past the guards undetected. But as he approached Thompson's private quarters, a flicker of doubt began to creep into Izar's mind, a nagging feeling that he may have underestimated his target and the capabilities of the humans who protected him. He pushed the thought aside, focusing on the task at hand as he prepared to breach the final layer of security. Suddenly, the corridor was flooded with blinding light, and Izar found himself face to face with Riker and his team, their weapons trained on the assassin with unwavering precision. In that moment, Izar realized that the humans had been one step ahead of him all along, anticipating his every move with uncanny accuracy. As the standoff intensified, Izar's mind raced, calculating his options as he grappled with the unthinkable possibility that he, the galaxy's most feared assassin, may have finally met his match in the form of a human target and his exceptionally skilled defenders. In a blur of motion, Izar's body reacted before his mind fully processed the situation. His nano-camouflage shimmered and fell away as he unleashed a barrage of energy bolts from his concealed Komar pistol. The corridor erupted in chaos as Riker and his team dove for cover, returning fire with their own advanced weaponry. Izar's superhuman reflexes allowed him to dance between the incoming shots, his lithe form twisting and contorting in ways that defied human anatomy. He closed the distance rapidly, engaging Riker's men in close combat. His fists and feet became deadly weapons, augmented by centuries of honed skill and alien physiology. "Contain him!" Riker bellowed, his voice barely audible over the din of battle. "Don't let him near Thompson!" Two security officers rushed Izar from opposite sides. He dropped low, sweeping one's legs out from under him, while simultaneously driving an elbow into the solar plexus of the other. Both crumpled to the floor, gasping for air. But the humans fought with unexpected tenacity. A plasma burst from Riker's rifle caught Izar's shoulder, searing through his protective suit and leaving a smoking wound. The assassin hissed in pain, realizing that these weren't the easy prey he had anticipated. As more security forces poured into the corridor, Izar made a split-second decision. He activated his cloaking device, his form shimmering and fading from view. The human's weapons tracked his last known position, filling the air with a storm of energy bolts. "He's cloaked!" Riker shouted. "Thermal imaging, now!" Izar didn't wait to see if they could track him. He sprinted down the corridor, ignoring the burning pain in his shoulder. He found an access shaft and slipped inside, descending rapidly into the bowels of the colony. Hours later, hidden in the grimy underbelly of Nova Prime, Izar tended to his wounds. The human weapon had done more damage than he cared to admit. He activated his neural link, connecting to his mysterious client. "I require more information," Izar demanded, his tone cold. "This target is unlike any I've faced before." A holographic image flickered to life before him, a female Zethri, her iridescent scales shimmering in the dim light. "I am Lyra," she said, her voice melodious yet tinged with urgency. "Samuel Thompson is no ordinary human. His company is on the verge of a breakthrough that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy." Izar's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Lyra's image rippled as she leaned forward. "Thompson's team has developed a technology that could render most energy shields obsolete. If they succeed, humanity will gain an unprecedented advantage in both defensive and offensive capabilities." The implications weren't lost on Izar. Such an advancement would catapult humans from a backwater species to a major galactic player overnight. No wonder the bounty was so high. "I'll need resources," Izar said, his mind already formulating a new plan. "Local contacts, someone who can penetrate their digital defenses." Lyra nodded. "I can arrange that. There's a Lormian hacker named Zix operating in Nova Prime. He specializes in human systems. Find him." The connection terminated, leaving Izar alone in the shadows. He moved silently through the colony's lower levels, following the digital breadcrumbs Lyra had provided. The contrast between the gleaming upper city and this dark underbelly was stark, a reminder that even in their most advanced colonies, humans still carried the seeds of their baser nature. Zix's hideout was nestled in an abandoned maintenance hub, surrounded by discarded machinery and flickering holoads. The Lormian's bulbous eyes widened as Izar materialized from the darkness. "By the void," Zix breathed, his tentacles writhing nervously. "You're him, aren't you? The Shadow Killer?" Izar ignored the moniker. "I need access to Nova Prime's security network. Can you provide it?" Zix's eyes glittered with avarice. "For the right price, I can get you anything, but breaching Thompson's systems? That's no small feat. What's in it for me?" "A share of the largest bounty you've ever seen," Izar replied coldly, "and the continued ability to draw breath." The Lormian's tentacles stilled. "All right, I'll get to work immediately." As Zix's appendages danced across holographic interfaces, Izar studied the layout of Nova Prime's central plaza. In 3 days, Thompson would give a speech there, a perfect opportunity to strike. But the plaza would be heavily guarded, every approach covered by layers of security. Izar's wounds throbbed, a constant reminder of his earlier failure. He pushed aside the discomfort, focusing on the task at hand. This contract had become more than just another kill. It was a test of his skills, his reputation, and his understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy. As the holo displays flickered with streams of data, Izar began to formulate his plan. He would not underestimate these humans again. The next time he faced Riker and his team, only one side would walk away. The central plaza of Nova Prime buzzed with anticipation as throngs of colonists and off-world dignitaries gathered for Thompson's keynote address. Izar, disguised as a maintenance worker in drab gray coveralls, moved through the crowd with practiced ease. His enhanced senses cataloged every detail: the placement of security personnel, the hum of energy shields, the barely perceptible shimmer of active cloaking fields. Zix's hacking had granted Izar unprecedented access to Nova Prime's security systems. He'd memorized patrol routes, identified blind spots, and carefully timed his approach to coincide with a momentary gap in the drone coverage. Now, as he took up position behind a holographic display unit, Izar allowed himself a flicker of satisfaction. Despite his earlier setback, he was exactly where he needed to be. The crowd's murmur swelled to a roar as Samuel Thompson strode onto the stage, flanked by a phalanx of armored guards. Izar's cyber-enhanced vision zoomed in on his target, noting the subtle bulge of a personal shield generator beneath Thompson's tailored suit. No matter. The assassin's custom-designed rifle could punch through far more robust defenses. As Thompson began to speak, Izar's fingers danced across the concealed weapons controls, making minute adjustments for wind speed and atmospheric density. He tuned out the content of the speech, focusing solely on the rhythm of Thompson's breathing, waiting for the perfect moment to take the shot. "And that is why I stand before you today, with news that will change the galaxy forever." Something in Thompson's tone caused Izar to hesitate, his finger hovering a hair's breadth from the trigger. "Our team has achieved a breakthrough in clean energy production," Thompson continued, his voice swelling with genuine passion. "A technology that will provide limitless power to even the most resource-starved colonies across known space." Izar's aim wavered as he processed the implications. This was no mere corporate announcement. Thompson was proposing nothing short of a revolution in galactic society. "We will not hoard this discovery," Thompson declared, his eyes shining with conviction. "It will be shared freely without restriction to uplift all sentient beings regardless of species or economic status." The crowd erupted in cheers and sobs of joy. Izar's enhanced hearing picked out snippets of conversation, delegates from impoverished worlds weeping openly, speaking of the millions whose lives would be transformed. For the first time in centuries, Izar felt doubt creep into his mind. The cold certainty that had driven him through countless assassinations began to crack. He lowered his weapon, unable to reconcile the altruistic figure before him with the threat his client had described. As Thompson concluded his speech, He motioned to the side of the stage. A group of children from Nova Prime's lower levels, humans, Zethri, even a young Lormian, rushed forward. Thompson knelt, embracing them with genuine warmth. "This is for you," he said, his words broadcast across the plaza. "For all the children of the galaxy who deserve a future brighter than we could have imagined." Izar's mind raced. The pieces didn't fit. Why would someone want this man dead? What ulterior motive could his client, Lyra, have for eliminating a figure poised to reshape the galactic order for the better? As the crowd began to disperse, Izar melted away, his maintenance worker disguise allowing him to slip past security cordons. He needed answers, and he knew just where to start. It was time to pay another visit to Zix. The Lormian hacker had more digging to do, and Izar was no longer certain which side of this conflict he truly belonged on. Izar slipped away from the bustling plaza, his mind churning with conflicting thoughts. He made his way back to Zix's hideout, moving through the shadows with practiced ease. The Lormian hacker's eyes widened as Izar materialized before him. "You're back. Did you—" "No," Izar cut him off. "I need more information. Dig deeper into Thompson's activities and upcoming plans." Zix's tentacles danced across holographic interfaces, pulling up encrypted files and classified schedules. "Interesting," he muttered. "Thompson's set to embark on a diplomatic mission to the outer colonies. Looks like he's planning to implement that new energy tech he announced." Izar's eyes narrowed. "When?" "2 standard cycles from now. He's assembling a security detail." "Wait." Zix paused, his bulbous eyes gleaming. "There's an opening. One of the new recruits failed the final screening." A plan formed in Izar's mind. "Get me that security clearance. I'm joining Thompson's team." Hours later, Izar stood among a group of human guards. His form seamlessly shifted to match their appearance. His enhanced senses cataloged every detail of the busy spaceport as Thompson's diplomatic convoy prepared for departure. Samuel Thompson strode down the boarding ramp, his presence commanding respect from those around him. Izar watched as the man greeted each member of his security detail personally, his genuine warmth catching the assassin off guard. "Welcome aboard," Thompson said, clasping Izar's hand. "I'm glad to have you with us." Izar nodded, suppressing the urge to recoil from the unexpected physical contact. As the ship lifted off, he settled into his role, observing Thompson's interactions with his team and the outer colony representatives accompanying them. The journey to the first colony world was tense, marked by long strategy sessions and last-minute preparations. Izar found himself drawn into the details of Thompson's plans, impressed by the man's thorough understanding of the challenges they faced. As they entered orbit around Novus Primus, the dire state of the colony became apparent. The planet's surface was a patchwork of struggling settlements, their dim lights barely visible against the barren landscape. Thompson's face grew grim as he studied the sensor readings. "We need to move quickly," he said. "Every moment we delay, more lives are at risk." The diplomatic team touched down on the outskirts of the main settlement. Izar's enhanced vision picked out the gaunt faces of colonists watching their arrival, hope and desperation mingling in their eyes. Over the next few days, Izar witnessed Thompson's tireless efforts firsthand. The man seemed to run on an inexhaustible supply of energy, moving from meetings with local leaders to site surveys for the new power facilities. At every turn, Thompson's genuine concern for the colonists' well-being shone through. During a rare moment of downtime, Izar accessed the ship's secure communications array, reaching out to his network of informants. The data that flowed back confirmed his growing suspicions about Lyra and her true motives. As Izar sifted through the damning evidence, an alert blared through the ship's systems. Thompson's voice crackled over the intercom, tense but controlled. "All security personnel to stations. We have incoming hostiles." Izar raced to his position, his mind racing. The pieces were falling into place, but there was no time to process the implications. As he took up a defensive stance alongside his fellow guards, he caught sight of Thompson rallying the colonists to safety. The sky lit up with weapons fire as the mercenary ships screamed into the atmosphere. Izar's trained eye recognized the tactics. This was no random attack, but a carefully coordinated strike. In that moment, as chaos erupted around him, Izar made a choice that would alter the course of his centuries-long existence. He moved to Thompson's side, his weapon raised not against his former target, but in his defense. "Sir," Izar said, his voice carrying over the din of battle, "we need to get you to safety." Thompson shook his head, gesturing to the fleeing colonists. "Not until everyone's secure. We hold the line here." As the mercenaries closed in, Izar found himself fighting alongside the very humans he had once viewed as inferior. His lethal skills, honed over countless contracts, now served a different purpose. With each precise shot and calculated maneuver, he bought time for the colonists to reach shelter. The battle raged on. Thompson's security team slowly pushed back by the relentless assault. Izar watched as Thompson himself took up arms, his face set with unshakable focus as he covered the retreat of a group of wounded colonists. In that moment, something shifted within Izar. The cold calculation that had defined his existence for so long gave way to a new emotion: respect. As he moved to Thompson's side, deflecting a barrage of enemy fire with his enhanced reflexes, Izar knew that the time for deception had passed. "Thompson," he said, his true voice emerging for the first time since he'd joined the security detail. "There's something you need to know." "Thompson," Izar said, his true voice emerging for the first time since he joined the security detail. "There's something you need to know." Thompson's eyes widened as he took in Izar's sudden transformation. "You're not who you appear to be." "No," Izar admitted, deflecting another barrage of enemy fire. "I was sent to kill you." Thompson's face hardened, but he didn't falter in his defense of the colonist. "And now I see the truth," Izar replied, his enhanced senses tracking the movements of the mercenaries closing in on their position. "Your work is too important to be stopped by corporate greed." As the last of the colonists reached safety, Thompson turned to face Izar fully. "Why should I trust you?" Izar's response was cut short by an explosion that rocked the ground beneath their feet. As the dust settled, he made a split-second decision. "Because I'm about to save your life." With inhuman speed, Izar tackled Thompson to the ground as a hail of plasma bolts tore through the air where they had been standing. Rolling to his feet, Izar unleashed a barrage of precision shots, dropping 3 mercenaries in rapid succession. "We need to move," Izar said, pulling Thompson to his feet. "I know who's behind this attack, and I can help you stop them." Thompson studied Izar for a long moment, the sounds of battle raging around them. Finally, he nodded. "All right, what's the plan?" Over the next few hours, as they fought their way back to Thompson's ship, Izar laid out everything he knew about Lyra and her conglomerate. Thompson listened intently, his expression growing grimmer with each revelation. "This goes deeper than I imagined," Thompson said as they finally reached the relative safety of the ship's command center. "We can't let them succeed." Izar nodded, feeling an unfamiliar sense of purpose. "I have contacts, resources. We can expose their corruption and dismantle their operation." "It won't be easy," Thompson warned. "Lyra's influence reaches far." "I'm aware," Izar replied, his mind already formulating strategies. "But with my skills and your vision, we have a chance." Thompson extended his hand. "Then let's get to work." As Izar clasped Thompson's hand, he felt the weight of centuries lifting from his shoulders. For the first time in his long existence, he was fighting for something beyond mere survival or profit. Over the following weeks, Izar and Thompson embarked on a series of covert missions across multiple worlds. They infiltrated heavily guarded corporate facilities, narrowly evading detection as they extracted crucial data exposing Lyra's illegal activities. On a mining colony in the Outer Rim, Izar's enhanced senses picked up the telltale signs of an ambush, moments before it was sprung. He pulled Thompson into a narrow alleyway as mercenary fire lit up the night. "They're getting bolder," Thompson observed, his breath coming in short gasps. Izar nodded, scanning their surroundings for an escape route. "Lyra's desperate. She knows we're close to bringing her down." They fought their way through the colony's winding streets, Izar's lethal precision clearing a path, while Thompson's quick thinking and local knowledge guided them to safety. As their campaign gained momentum, more allies joined their cause. Izar found himself working alongside humans, aliens, and even a few reformed criminals, all united in their desire to see Lyra's corrupt empire fall. But with each victory, the stakes grew higher. Lyra's retaliation became increasingly violent, culminating in a bold strike against Nova Prime itself. Izar stood atop a towering skyscraper, surveying the chaos engulfing the colony's central districts. Explosions bloomed across the cityscape as Lyra's forces clashed with Nova Prime's defenders. "This ends here," Thompson's voice crackled over the comlink. "We've traced Lyra's command ship. It's time to take the fight to her." Izar's enhanced vision picked out the sleek, heavily armed vessel hovering above the government sector. "Understood. I'll clear a path." As he prepared to leap into action, movement in his peripheral vision caught Izar's attention. He spun, barely avoiding the vibroblade that sliced through the air where his head had been. "Hello, old friend," a familiar voice purred. "It's been a long time." Izar found himself face-to-face with Nyx, one of the deadliest assassins in the galaxy, and his former protege. Behind her, a team of elite killers fanned out, their weapons trained on Izar. "Lyra sends her regards," Nyx said, her eyes cold, "and a reminder of what happens to traitors." Izar's mind raced, calculating odds and potential strategies. He knew he was outmatched, but surrender wasn't an option. Too much depended on his success. As Nyx lunged forward, her blade a blur of lethal precision, Izar made his choice. He would fight, not just for his own survival, but for the future Thompson had shown him, a future worth believing in. The battle that erupted atop the skyscraper was a deadly dance of skill and desperation. Izar moved with inhuman speed, his centuries of experience allowing him to hold his own against the overwhelming odds. But even as he fought, Izar knew that the true test lay ahead. Lyra still needed to be stopped, and the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance. With relentless drive, he prepared himself for the final confrontation, knowing that everything he had become, everything he now believed in, would be put to the ultimate test. The skyscraper battle faded into memory as Izar found himself standing beside Thompson, overlooking the bustling shipyard where the revolutionary energy generators were being loaded onto massive freighters. The past months had been a whirlwind of activity, dismantling Lyra's conglomerate and preparing for this moment. "It's really happening," Thompson said, his voice filled with quiet awe. "We're going to change everything." Izar nodded, his enhanced vision picking out potential security weaknesses in the loading process. "We still have challenges ahead. Not everyone will welcome this change." Thompson clapped him on the shoulder. "That's why I need you leading our security operations. Your skills are unmatched." As if to prove Thompson's point, Izar's senses prickled with a sudden awareness of danger. He spun, pushing Thompson to the ground as a high-powered laser blast seared the air where they had been standing. "Sniper!" Izar shouted, his eyes already tracking the assassin's position. With inhuman speed, he vaulted over the railing, racing across rooftops in pursuit. The sniper, clearly enhanced themselves, led Izar on a frantic chase through the colony's industrial sector. Izar's centuries of experience gave him the edge, allowing him to anticipate his quarry's moves. Cornered atop a fusion reactor, the assassin turned to face Izar. "Krathax sends his regards," the killer snarled before activating a concealed plasma charge. Izar leapt clear as the explosion rocked the facility. As he made his way back to Thompson, his mind raced with the implications of this new threat. Over the following weeks, Izar's security protocols were put to the test. Krathax's forces struck with precision, targeting vulnerable convoys in the lawless regions between settled systems. On the bridge of Thompson's flagship, Izar coordinated a desperate rescue operation. "Team Alpha, you have hostiles incoming from Vector 317, he said, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. "Bravo team, prepare for extraction on my mark." The tension was palpable as Izar's strike team infiltrated the pirate outpost where Krathax's mercenaries held a captured convoy crew. Izar watched through helmet feeds as his operatives moved with lethal efficiency, neutralizing threats and securing the hostages. "Extraction complete," the team leader reported. "All personnel accounted for." Thompson let out a relieved sigh. Well done, Izar, but we can't keep playing defense. We need to take the fight to Krathax. Izar nodded grimly. I'm working on it. My contacts are closing in on his base of operations. Their opportunity came sooner than expected. As Thompson and Izar oversaw the activation of the first major energy facility on Arcadis IV, proximity alarms blared to life. Multiple hostile signatures detected, the colony's defense AI announced. Krathax's armada has entered the system. Izar's mind shifted into overdrive, tactical scenarios unfolding before him. Thompson, get to the secure bunker. I'll coordinate our defenses from the command center. The sky above Arcadis IV lit up with weapons fire as Krathax's forces engaged the colony's defense grid. Izar's strategies, combined with the humans' commitment, held the line against wave after wave of attacks. But Krathax had an ace up his sleeve. A sickly green mist began to spread through the colony's lower levels, and reports flooded in of security personnel collapsing, their skin erupting in horrific lesions. It's some kind of bioweapon. Thompson's voice crackled over the comm, thick with pain. Izar, we need that antidote. Izar's enhanced physiology had protected him from the virus, but as he looked out over the suffering colonists, he knew what he had to do. I'm going after Krathax, he announced. His flagship will have the cure. Assembling a team of non-human operatives, Izar led a daring assault on Krathax's warship. They fought their way through waves of defenders, Izar's centuries of combat experience guiding them past traps and ambushes. In the heart of the vessel, Izar secured the antidote, but as his team prepared to extract, a massive figure blocked their path. So the legendary Izar graces us with his presence, Krathax rumbled, his Voldarian bulk filling the corridor. I've been looking forward to testing myself against you. Izar's team took defensive positions, but he waved them off. Get the antidote to Thompson, he ordered. I'll handle this. As his operatives retreated, Izar faced Krathax alone. The Voldarian warlord was a whirlwind of destruction, his cybernetically enhanced limbs leaving dents in the ship's reinforced bulkheads. Izar weaved through Krathax's attacks, his own strikes precise and calculated. But even with his abilities, Izar found himself hard-pressed by the warlord's raw power and advanced augmentations. The ship shuddered around them as the battle outside intensified. Izar knew he was running out of time. In a risky move, he allowed Krathax to land a crushing blow, using the momentum to maneuver inside the warlord's guard. With a series of lightning-fast strikes, Izar targeted weak points in Krathax's cybernetics. The Voldarian roared in pain and fury as his systems began to fail. This isn't over, Krathax snarled as he collapsed, his body twitching with misfiring implants. Izar stood over his fallen foe, battered but victorious. No, he agreed, but it's a start. As Izar made his way to an escape pod, alarms blared throughout the flagship. Krathax's forces, leaderless and in disarray, began to retreat from Arcadis IV. Izar's pod streaked through the atmosphere, landing near the colony's main medical center. He found Thompson there, already administering the antidote to the infected colonists. We did it, Thompson said, his face pale but his eyes bright with triumph. The energy facility is online, and Krathax is defeated. Izar nodded, allowing himself a moment of satisfaction. But as he looked out over the recovering colony, he knew their work was far from finished. Krathax might be neutralized, but there would always be others ready to take his place. What's our next move? Izar asked, already preparing himself for the challenges ahead. Izar surveyed the bustling command center of Arcadis IV's newly operational energy facility. Holographic displays flickered with real-time data from across the colony, a testament to their hard-won victory. Thompson approached, his face etched with a mix of exhaustion and perseverance. We've secured this world, Thompson said, gesturing to the thrumming generators visible through the viewports. But there are countless others in need of what we've built here. I want you to lead our expansion efforts, Izar. Izar raised an eyebrow. You're trusting me with this? Thompson nodded. Your skills, your experience, they're exactly what we need to navigate the challenges ahead. Over the following weeks, Izar set about assembling an elite security force. He sought out individuals like himself, those with checkered pasts but the potential for redemption. His first recruit was Zara, a Krajian sharpshooter whose reputation preceded her. Izar found her in a dingy cantina on the outskirts of Nova Prime. "I hear you never miss," he said, sliding into the booth across from her. Zara's four eyes narrowed. "What's it to you?" "I'm offering you a chance to use those skills for something greater than credits," Izar replied. A ghost of a smile played across Zara's features. "I'm listening." With his team taking shape, Izar dispatched survey missions to potential facility sites. He received an urgent transmission from the squad on Kaliva, a desert world rich in untapped resources. "We've got a situation," the team leader reported. "Remnants of Krathax's forces are dug in around the proposed construction site. They're not budging." Izar's mind raced through options. "Hold position. I'm on my way with reinforcements." Hours later, Izar's ship touched down on Kaleva's sun-baked surface. He emerged with Zara and a small strike team, the heat hitting them like a physical wall. As they approached the standoff, Izar assessed the opposition. Krathax's loyalists were well-armed, but disorganized, their leadership clearly in disarray after their master's defeat. "Zara," Izar said quietly, "can you neutralize their command structure without casualties?" The Krajian unfolded her precision rifle. "Just point them out." What followed was a breathtaking display of marksmanship. In rapid succession, Zara's shots disabled the weapons of the enemy leaders, sowing confusion in their ranks. Izar seized the moment, stepping forward to negotiate. "Your cause is lost," he called out, "but there's a place for you in what we're building, if you're willing to work for it." The successful resolution on Kaleva marked a turning point. News of Thompson's initiative spread across the galaxy, attracting both allies and enemies. Izar wasn't surprised when his team uncovered a sizable bounty placed on both his and Thompson's heads. "It seems we've rattled some powerful cages," Thompson observed, studying the intel reports. Izar nodded grimly. "The criminal syndicates won't give up their energy monopolies without a fight." Their fears were confirmed during the launch of a new facility on Hydros, an ocean colony. As Thompson delivered his speech to the assembled dignitaries, Izar's enhanced senses detected movement in the waters below. "We've got infiltrators," he hissed into his comm. "Zara, take your team and secure the reactor core. I'll handle the main force." Izar plunged into the depths, his cybernetic enhancements allowing him to move with deadly grace through the murky waters. He engaged the Kaldarian mercenaries in a series of brutal underwater skirmishes, his centuries of combat experience giving him the edge. As he fought his way towards the facility's foundations, a familiar figure emerged from the gloom. Krav, his former protege, now allied with the very forces they once served together. No words were exchanged. None were needed. The two assassins clashed in a deadly dance, their movements a blur even in the water's resistance. Izar found himself pushed to his limits, Krav's skills having sharpened in their years apart. With a bold strategy, Izar allowed Krav to pin him against the facility's hull. As Krav moved in for the killing blow, Izar triggered a concealed sonic emitter. The pulse sent Krav reeling, giving Izar the opening he needed. In seconds, Izar had Krav disarmed and at his mercy. The younger assassin tensed, clearly expecting death. Instead, Izar extended a hand. "I was given a second chance," Izar said. "I'm offering you the same." Krav hesitated, then grasped Izar's hand. I'll help you. The cartel leadership, I know where to find them." With Krav's intelligence, Thompson orchestrated a series of precision strikes against the criminal alliance. Izar led many of these operations personally, his team moving like ghosts through heavily fortified compounds and secret bases. In the wake of their victories, Izar found himself in a position he never could have imagined. As the newly appointed head of Thompson's Unified Security Initiative, he stood watch over a growing network of facilities bringing affordable energy to worlds long exploited by corporate greed. Izar gazed out at the stars from the bridge of his command ship. The galaxy was vast, and there were still many battles ahead. But for the first time in centuries, Izar felt the weight of purpose driving him forward. Izar stood at the viewport of his command ship, his eyes scanning the vast expanse of stars. The tranquility of space belied the growing storm that threatened to unravel years of hard-won progress. "Sir, we have an urgent transmission from Outpost Sigma," a junior officer reported, her voice taut with tension. Izar turned, his cybernetic implants already processing the incoming data. The hollow display flickered to life, revealing a scene of chaos. Explosions rocked the background as a harried-looking technician shouted over the din. "We're under attack. They came out of nowhere. Some kind of fanatical mercenary group. They're calling themselves the Purge." The transmission cut out abruptly, leaving only static. Izar's mind raced, piecing together fragmented intelligence reports from the past few weeks. "Alert all stations," he ordered. "This isn't an isolated incident." Within hours, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. 3 major energy hubs had gone dark, their defenses overwhelmed by precision strikes. Izar coordinated his teams, scrambling to respond to multiple crises simultaneously. In the command center, Thompson's hologram materialized, his face etched with concern. "Izar, what are we dealing with?" "A coordinated assault," Izar replied, bringing up a galactic map dotted with red indicators. "They're targeting worlds sympathetic to our initiatives, crippling power supplies to entire colonies." Thompson's expression hardened. "Who's behind this?" Izar pulled up a grainy image captured during one of the attacks. "Him, Vortak, a former operative I trained years ago. He's assembled a formidable force." As they spoke, another alert blared. Zara's voice crackled over the comm. "Izar, we're pinned down on Verias Fro. Civilian evacuation is under heavy fire from Purge shock troops. We need backup." "Hold your position," Izar responded, already moving towards the hangar. "I'm on my way." The battle on Verias IV was a maelstrom of chaos. Izar's ship punched through the atmosphere, dodging anti-aircraft fire. On the ground, he found Zara's team surrounded, desperately trying to protect a group of terrified colonists. Izar leapt into action, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to weave through enemy fire. He engaged the Purge troops at close range, his movements a blur of lethal efficiency. With Izar's reinforcements turning the tide, Zara coordinated the final push to extract the civilians. As the last transport lifted off, Zara approached Izar, her 4 eyes scanning the battlefield. "They knew our tactics, anticipated our moves. How is that possible?" Izar's expression resolute. "Vortak, he was one of our best. Now he's using everything I taught him against us." Back on the command ship, Thompson's analysts had made a breakthrough. "We've located their base," Thompson announced. "A fortified bunker on Arcos. But Izar, the planet's defenses are unlike anything we've seen. Lethal biosphere countermeasures. It's a one-way trip for most species." Izar nodded grimly. "Then I'll go myself. Assemble a strike team. We end this now." The insertion onto Arcos was a nightmare from the start. Toxic winds buffeted their dropship, visibility reduced to near zero. As they breached the outer perimeter, Purge defenders swarmed from hidden bunkers. Krav, fighting alongside his former mentor, spotted a weak point in the enemy lines. "Izar, I can give you an opening, but someone needs to cover our wounded." Before Izar could respond, Krav was moving. He laid down suppressing fire, allowing the injured team members to fall back. "Go!" Krav shouted. "I'll hold them off!" Izar hesitated for a split second, then nodded. He led Zara and the remaining operatives deeper into the complex, the sound of Krav's last stand echoing behind them. The corridors of the bunker were a maze of death traps and ambushes. Izar and Zara fought back to back, their movements synchronized after years of combat together. They cut through Vortak's inner circle, leaving a trail of neutralized foes in their wake. Finally, they reached the command center. The doors hissed open, revealing a figure Izar hadn't seen in decades. Vortak stood waiting, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming in the low light. "Welcome, teacher," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "I've been waiting for this moment." Izar raised his weapon. "Stand down, Vortak. It's over." Vortak's laugh was cold and mirthless. "Oh, it's far from finished. It's only just begun." With blinding speed, Vortak attacked. Izar found himself on the defensive, barely able to parry the onslaught of blows. Vortak had clearly augmented himself far beyond standard limits, his strength and speed pushing Izar to his absolute limits. The two warriors clashed in a deadly dance, their combat styles mirroring each other in a twisted reflection of their shared past. Vortak pressed his advantage, driving Izar back with a flurry of strikes. "You've grown soft, old man," Vortak taunted, "protecting the weak instead of culling them. You've forgotten what true strength is." Izar felt his back hit the wall. Vortak lunged in for the killing blow, a cruel smile on his face. But at the last possible moment, Izar twisted, using Vortak's momentum against him. With a series of precise strikes, Izar targeted weak points in Vortak's cybernetics. Vortak stumbled, his systems faltering. Izar pressed his advantage, finally subduing his former pupil with a devastating combination of blows. As Vortak lay defeated, Izar stood over him, breathing heavily. "Strength isn't about destruction, Vortak. It's about protection, about building something greater than yourself." Zara approached, her weapon trained on Vortak. "What now?" Izar looked down at his fallen opponent, his mind already turning to the challenges that lay ahead. The purge might be stopped, but the galaxy was still a dangerous place. And as long as there were those in need of protection, Izar's work was far from finished. Izar's eyes scanned the command center, his enhanced senses alert for any remaining threats. The acrid smell of ozone and scorched metal hung in the air, a testament to the fierce battle that had just unfolded. Vortak lay unconscious at his feet, a once formidable opponent now reduced to a broken heap of cybernetics and flesh. "We need to move," Izar said, his voice tight with urgency. "This isn't over yet." Zara nodded, her four eyes darting between the exits. "I'll take point. Watch our six." They moved swiftly through the corridors, stepping over the bodies of fallen purge soldiers. The eerie quiet was broken only by the distant sound of alarms and the occasional groan of the wounded. As they rounded a corner, a plasma bolt sizzled past Izar's head, scorching the wall behind him. "Contact!" Zara shouted, diving for cover. A wave of purge loyalists poured into the hallway, their weapons blazing with deadly intent. Izar's cybernetic reflexes kicked in, time seeming to slow as he assessed the situation. He counted at least a dozen heavily armed opponents, their faces contorted with rage and desperation. "We're pinned down," Izar growled, returning fire with precision shots that dropped two attackers. "We need to find an alternate route." Zara's voice crackled over their secure comm channel. "I've got an idea. Cover me!" Before Izar could respond, Zara burst from cover, her lithe form a blur of motion. She weaved through the hail of plasma fire, closing the distance to their attackers with inhuman speed. Izar provided covering fire, his shots forcing the purge soldiers to duck and scatter. Then, in a heart-stopping moment, Zara's luck ran out. A barrage of plasma bolts caught her mid-leap, the energy burning through her armor and flesh. She stumbled, her momentum carrying her forward into the midst of the enemy formation. "No!" Izar roared, abandoning caution and charging into the fray. The world narrowed to a tunnel of cold, ruthless efficiency. Izar's cybernetic enhancements pushed his body beyond its limits, each movement a carefully calculated dance of destruction. He struck with lethal precision, neutralizing threats with brutal economy. In moments, the hallway fell silent. Izar stood amidst the carnage, his chest heaving. He rushed to Zara's side, cradling her broken body. "Izar," Zara whispered, her voice weak. Did we stop them?" "We did," Izar replied, his throat tight. "You did it, Zara. We won." Zara's eyes flickered, a ghost of a smile on her lips. "Good. I wanted you to know. I joined for you. For what you found. Hope." Izar felt a weight settle in his chest, a pain deeper than any physical wound. "Save your strength. We'll get you out of here." But Zara's eyes had already grown dim, her body limp in his arms. Izar bowed his head, allowing himself a moment of grief before the cold reality of their situation reasserted itself. With fierce dedication, Izar lifted Zara's body. He carried her through the twisting corridors of the bunker, past the signs of battle and the fallen. Each step felt heavier than the last, the weight of loss threatening to overwhelm him. As Izar emerged from the bunker into the harsh light of Arcos's toxic atmosphere, he saw the transport ship waiting. Thompson's hologram flickered to life, his expression changing from relief to shock as he took in the scene. "Izar, what happened? Is Zara—" "She's gone," Izar said, his voice hollow. "She gave her life to ensure our mission succeeded." The journey back to Nova Prime passed in a blur. Izar stood motionless as the ship docked, Zara's body still cradled in his arms. A solemn procession met them, led by Thompson himself. "I'm sorry, Izar," Thompson said, his voice heavy with genuine sorrow. She was one of our best. Her sacrifice won't be forgotten." Izar nodded, unable to find words. He gently laid Zara's body on the waiting gurney, watching as it was wheeled away. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, threatening to crack the carefully constructed armor he had built around his emotions. Thompson placed a hand on Izar's shoulder. "We need to talk. There's still much to be done." Izar followed Thompson to a private conference room, his mind racing with the implications of their victory and the cost at which it had come. As the door sealed behind them, Thompson's demeanor changed, his eyes reflecting a weariness that seemed to go beyond mere physical exhaustion. "The Purge has been dealt a critical blow," Thompson began, "but we both know this fight is not nearly finished." Izar tensed, bracing himself for what was to come. He knew with cold certainty that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges unlike any he had faced before. The galaxy was vast, and the forces of greed and oppression were not easily vanquished. As Thompson began to outline the challenges that lay ahead, Izar's perseverance hardened. He would honor Zara's memory, and the memory of all those who had fallen, by seeing this mission through to the end. Whatever the cost, whatever sacrifices still lay ahead, he would not falter. The former assassin listened intently, his mind already formulating strategies and contingencies. The real work, he knew, was only just beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.